nights left to find you. One last thing to tend to. You'll feel what I can do, but you'll never run. Ghost one of my actions, but I'm the main attraction. You'll bring my satisfaction. A little horror stories just begun.
And we're back live on KBLP. This is the Book Corner with Denise Harris, and we're discussing Gothic fiction this evening. I'm going to backtrack a little and go back to um, why we enjoy the Gothic fiction genre. How can that what we fear and the emotion that wants us or warns us to fight or flee when faced with danger, how can we enjoy that? Um, and it's as old, as ancient as the narrative art itself. From Grendel coming out of the darkness in the 8th century poem Beowulf, um, through the tales by the Brothers Grimm, um, down to our own age, the storytellers have catered to our desire to be made fearful. Fear, terror, and fright. They don't quite actually cover it, though. We sit at home or at the movie theater or reading about all this. We're not in actual danger. But I think it's designed to inspire fear. And it emerged from England at the end of the 18th century. And it became known as Gothic because of the fact that the settings were, of course, as in House on Haunted Hill, the castles, the ruined castles, the graveyards, sinister old houses. There's a very early movie. I can't remember the exact year. I think it's called The Old Black House. That is one creepy movie. If you haven't seen it, it's black and white. If you can see it, please do. It's terrifying. There's nothing, it's more psychological than anything. And the plots with their charming villains, the taken in innocence, the secrets that are held by some of these families, the devastating revelations, mad scientists, ghosts. A lot of the works are largely forgotten way back before Mary Shelley. And it's no accident that this form of fiction exploited the supernatural. It came about at just the right time also. It came about when our faith in conventional religion was crumbling. The consolation of eternal life, or the threat of eternal damnation, it no longer gave meaning to some people's lives. And a set of superstitious beliefs arrived just in time, basically, to articulate our fear of death and of the dead. And as secularization continued, the Gothic mode flourished. And the discovery in the 19th century of the European folk-tale tradition added to the mix with creatures like the vampires, the werewolves, and of course our very favorite, the zombies, of course. And the Gothic fiction is more powerful and prevalent than it ever has been. Um, of course, Hollywood continues to embrace the blood-sucking immortals preying on human beings, the unquiet spirits of the dead that haunt the places, and of course, illustrated by the movies like Twilight, Insidious, perfect example. Um, the Sixth Sense, The Woman in Black, Ghost Story was another one. That would be considered gothic fiction by Peter Straub. It's got your ghosts and, of course, the Shameful Little Secrets going on. Excellent book, excellent book. And is also in popular literature, of course, the name ones, Stephen King, Anne Rice, Stephanie Meyer, of course, Joe Hill now, so there you go. And we take it for granted there is an oddness in our highly technological and materialistic culture, relying on metaphors that entered our literature 200 years ago. Digitally, they are CGI zombies. Men transformed to wolves, such as in Van Helsing. I love that movie. That movie was tremendous. Um, and I was hoping they would make a second one. It was very, very good. But why do we want to be frightened? And why do we choose these certain genres for this? Why do the terrors of giant ghostly knights or mad nuns frighten us when Frankenstein's monster, Count Dracula, and in one form or another still do? They still frighten us. They really do. I think it's called The Old Black House. That is one, I'll tell you, if you haven't seen it, please. Like I said, it's a black and white. It is an old movie. But it is the creepiest movie you can see. It's one of them. So every parent at some moment sees his child as a monster and its demands and its impact. That explains the effect of those moments in movies when a child turns out either to be utterly wicked, okay, Children of the Damned. Wow, creepy movie. I was on just the other night. Very good. The Omen. The Orphan. Creepy, creepy, creepy. So I think we relate to that. Thinking, what if our child was like that? That's kind of not cool. But that would be interesting to say the least. And what pleasure do we get from being told that the spirits of the dead are among us? Maybe trying to contact us. It's got to be, it must be that the acting out in front of us of our most irrational fears allows us, I guess, to deal with them. To see them as irrational, almost absurd. And that is perhaps why movies, horror movies, teeter on the edge. Some of them almost become comedic. So our anxieties are validated by the premise and then resolved as the story leads to safety. So it starts out, we're anxious and everything, but we get relieved when the ending turns out right. And the source of our pleasure in this is our awareness that from the start of our unease, it will eventually be all right. So I wanted to go back a little bit and discuss that a little bit more. Why it was so popular. It's just like we discussed other fiction. It's the unknown factor, but in the end, we know it's going to be okay. So that's basically the premise of them. Now we're going to go back and discuss a few more books. One of the ones I like, and we all know, most of us know, The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. That was one creepy, creepy book and movie. That scared the crap out of me. I don't know about you guys, but it really did. I mean, what can you not be feared of by that book and the movie, of course. That unbelievable. That it was excellent, excellent, excellent. Of course, we know that's by Edgar Allan Poe. It was published in 1843, and it tries to convince the reader of his sanity while describing a murder he committed. Okay, the kind of a oxymoron there, I think. Um, um, it's told by a narrator whom we don't know, and the victim was an old man. It's carefully planned out, and the murderer hides the body by dismembering it and hiding it under the floorboards. But I think it's feeling of guilt or mental disturbance that he starts hearing the heartbeat. There doesn't seem to be a relationship between the two, but there's no feelings of hatred or resentment for the man he murdered. But he also denies that he killed for greed. The motivation for the murder are left kind of up in the air. Whether he was a landlord or maybe the man owed him money, whatever the case was, maybe it's just a secret we don't know about. But the beating of that heart and the movie, I mean, if you just hear that, and even after you're done with it, you can't get that out of your head. It's there. And in the story, the narrator insists his careful precision in committing the murder. He can't possibly be insane. He was too precise. There was no madness involved, so he thinks. But on the eighth night, the old man wakens after the storyteller's hand slips, interrupting the narrator's nightly ritual. He doesn't draw back and decides to open his lantern, and a single light shines out, and he right on the evil eye of the old man, and he hears the old man's heart beating loudly and dangerously fast from terror. And then he kills them and dismembers them and hides the pieces under the floorboards. The old man's scream causes a neighbor to report the police, and he invites the officers in to look around. But after that, and the ringing grows louder and louder, and then the storyteller believes it's the heartbeat of the old man under the floorboards. And he becomes terrified and convinced the officers are aware of his guilt, and he breaks down and confesses. But that movie was just creepy. Just the sound of that heartbeat constantly in your head. And of course, we have the Raven. I mean, we all know about the Raven. Naturally, Poe. We all know that. And it's because of the supernatural atmosphere of the poem. So we all know about that one. So there's quite a few Gothic books that are, you wouldn't have considered Gothic fiction, but they are. And one of the better known ones, I think, excuse me, and I apologize for running late tonight. Of course, work ran over as usual. One of the best books out there, too, is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. It is also known as just Jekyll and Hyde, which we all know about. And we all know the storyline behind it. Again, it's it's about a London lawyer